Let's get started. So, welcome, welcome to the webinar for understanding what SAFE is all about. I'm assuming you must be having varied experiences in IT, software development, or in Agile, and probably in SAFE as well. So we'll try to see what type of content will be necessary for you, and at the same time we'll try to understand what are the better practices and what are the strategies and we can consider today as part of this webinar. So a quick introduction about myself. My name is Dasari. I've been a SAFE consultant and agilist, very passionate about agile, and also been practicing from last 20 plus years. And my biggest what I've done so far in the last 20 years is tried to understand various frameworks and also try to look at what is the most optimal product development framework. And in the process, I've written 4 books: Agile Ecosystem, my first one, then Agile Playbook, CX Ecosystem, and the most recent one is Agile Conundrum. And I've been certified, I've been teaching a lot of SAFE courses for a lot of students, especially through Simpliaxis. And more importantly, I want to let you all know that if you take any courses with Simpliaxis, they are offering 10% discount, early bird discount for you all. So please leverage that. That will be quite useful for you. And let me pause here to see if anyone has any questions before we get started. If not, we'll quickly go into Slido to do a quick icebreaker and try to get some information from you all so that we can make it more efficient for all of us. So what you need to do is use your mobile phones, then scan that QR code on the screen, and then if you could not scan it, then go to the mobile browser on your cell phone, go to slider.com and put that code there, and it will allow you to get in. And once you are in, then we can get started on this one.
So Ram, are you sharing your screen or something? Because we are not able to see.
I thought I was sharing, but let me check. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we are not able to, I guess.
Okay, let me share my screen. Sorry. Let me try again.
Yeah, now we are able to see.
Yeah, I think I'm sharing the wrong one. Let's stop it. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that a slide on speaker intro?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is what I just covered. Basically trying to talk about, what type of work I do. There's one more folks who's joining. Okay. And also, I've spent extensive part of my career, especially on product development. I even have a patent on one of the products I developed for an insurance company, travel insurance company. So I can talk more about that, but more importantly, I want you to bring up to speed on what the SAFE framework is all about and what is that it can help us in our journey towards agility. So what I would like you all to do is use that QR code, what you're seeing on the screen, scan it and get into few questions I would like to ask you. If you cannot scan it, then go to your mobile browser and put slido.com, put that code, then you will be able to see the questions there. So that's the first question I'd like to ask. It's an icebreaker. Just type in which metro are you from? I see one already answered. There are quite a few folks, so please leverage this and Well, I'll give 1 more minute for folks to do it. It's very simple. Use the QR slide. Yeah, what's the question? Sorry. Yeah, use the QR code on the left-hand side or use slido.com on your mobile browser. Put the number 2960652. It will take you to the screen and then you can enter on the browser where you're from. Another 30 seconds and I'll move on. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next part of this presentation. What we'll do is we'll cover a few things today. We'll try to understand the context why we're meeting today. We'll also try to understand what SAFE would bring to the table, why people are going after this very popular framework, SAFE. We'll also look at SAFE practices. We'll also look at some Q&As in the process. I thought there was one more person, and also there was somebody asking a question. Okay. All right. That's good. Everybody's back now, so which is nice. So let's move on. What we'll do is I'll set the context for all of you. What we'll first do is we'll try to understand what scaled agile framework is all about. We'll try to understand what is why do we need to scale up? Why is it so important to scale up? Why can't the teams continue to do it in the team level agility? What are those gaps they might have in the process? We'll also deep dive into safe best practices. We'll also look at how teams or team of teams come together to form what is called agile release train. And in the process, they are more focused on trying to align the strategy to execution. So we'll try to understand that. With boots on the ground, how would you align that strategy to execution? An organization, if they have a strategy or strategic teams, how can you get the work done? So we'll try to understand that also in detail. We'll also look at why should we use SAFE. So it's an analogy I would like to share, which I'll cover that also. And during this webinar, I'd like to make it more interactive, meaning whenever you have any questions, please stop me and ask me. And I'll try to do my best to answer it. If there is a lot of discussion involved, then I'll take it offline and try to cover with you in the process. The audience, probably some of you here are coaches, scrum masters, program managers, team members, product owners, business analysts, testers. So you have various roles within the organization. So for all of you, I think this might be a very good way for you to get introduced and in the process understand which course is right for you. So that is what we'll try to do. Our intent again is to ensure that the teams understand what they're supposed to do, they're empowered, and also teams exceed the expectations on delivering the outcomes. So the key thing, what you're seeing on the screen is the waterfall way of doing. The first part is the waterfall way of doing it. What is the significance of the waterfall? It has various phases, requirements, design, implementation, verification. As you complete one stage or on one phase, you go to the next phase, right? And you have what is called phase gates, where you're trying to understand whether it's a go, no go decision will be made. And there are various levels of documentation you do in the process. One drawback is you're not verifying the finished product with the end customer in between the project. You will always wait till the end to verify. So that could be an issue which was addressed as part of what is called agile way of working. XP and agile way of working has this incremental delivery, which is you have small time boxes like 2 weeks increments or 2 week sprints where you are delivering value, you're demoing that value to the end customer, getting the feedback in fast feedback cycles or fast feedback loops, and incorporating that feedback into the next deliverable. So in the process, the fast feedback helps to align with the customer. And if you are plotting it on a graph with time on x-axis and value delivery on y-axis, in an agile way of working, which you're seeing in this green boxes, the value is incrementally delivered and you're constantly verifying with the customer, aligned with the customer, and at the end of that time box, you're delivering the value to the customer. Whereas in waterfall, you keep developing, and at the end, you will try to verify, take some more time to release it. So it takes little longer, or you will have to focus a little more on the rework part. Some of you are familiar with Scrum, right? And the Scrum process, most of it is used in SAFe as well, but there are certain terminology differences. So I would like all of you to be familiar with the terminology differences. Again, why SAFe did that terminology change is again for their branding. So sprints are now called iteration. Sprint planning is called iteration planning. Sprint review is called iteration review. Sprint retrospective is called iteration retrospective. Sprint goals is called iteration goals. Sprint backlog is called iteration backlog. Daily Scrum in Scrum is called Team Scrum, Team Sync. In previous versions of SAFe 5.0, it used to be called Daily Stand-Up, which means the same. Now it's called Team Sync. Increment is called Team Increment, and Scrum Team is called Agile Team. The scaled agile framework, I know it looks very crowded for you. Please bear with me. It is simple to decipher and also to understand what it means. So I told you, right, the Scrum process is followed. So the bottom swim lane, the way you need to look at it is as swim lanes. The bottom swim lane is the team level agility, team and technical agility. That is one of the core competencies. And all these circles here are called core competencies. And there are 7 core competencies in SAFe. Like it says, team and technical agility, agile product delivery, enterprise solution delivery, lean portfolio management, organization agility. And also you have continuous delivery, continuous learning culture, lean agile leadership, which are foundational. And the thing is, the bottom swim lane, which is the triad, the Scrum Master, product owner, and the team, they work together to sprint or to iterate, so that in every iteration or in every iteration, they will be delivering value to the customer. They use the stories within the team backlog and start delivering with built-in quality. So the next swim lane is agile product delivery. That is where the team of teams come together who are supporting a common product. And that product, they all plan together in a cross-domain planning called PI planning. And this team of teams are called ART, it's cross-functional teams. And their sole purpose is to have a common mission, common purpose, common set of features which all the teams need to work on. And the output of the PI planning is the PI objectives, and they have a dependency map called ART program, ART board or ART planning board, or previously it should be called as program board. And this output is used throughout the next five iterations by each of the teams within that ART, and they keep delivering the value by doing a system demo and constantly aligning with the customer. There is customer centricity. There is a continuous delivery pipeline, DevOps, where the continuous exploration of value, continuous integration of the value to the common core branch, continuous deployment of value to the staging environment, and continuous delivery or release on demand to the end customer. And the next swim lane is solution delivery, which means that a team of teams is an art, right? A group of arts or agile release trains is called solution. And that solutions, in especially in organizations, will cover a line of business. A solution typically has 1,000 people. Agile agile release trains normally have 50 to 125 people, around anywhere from 5 to 11 teams or 5 to 12 teams. The top swim lane is lean portfolio management. Not many organizations have it. Lean portfolio management is nothing but where you have the portfolio, where all the epics, the big rock items are sitting there, and the organization have a strategy, and the strategy comes in the form of a vision, strategic themes, which gets translated into epics as part of the portfolio Kanban or portfolio backlog, and it has a value stream. It has lean budget guardrails so that it knows what to spend, how to spend, how do they need to look for the reports, and they have KPIs and OKRs in the process. KPI stands for key performance indicators. OKR stands for objectives and key results. So this framework, this is what you will learn when you get into a safe class, and you will be able to understand and relate how this can align with your organization. It's also called as big picture. A team of agile teams is an art. They are self-managing teams. They operate on a common principle. They all work towards delivering working tested system increment on a regular cadence of every sprint, which is typically 2 weeks. And they all have the same start date, same end date for each of the iterations. And they all plan together in a cross-domain planning upfront called PI planning. The key intent is they need to develop on cadence, the 2-week increments, and then release the value to the customer on demand. What it means is when you're releasing it to the customer or when you're deploying into production, you're deploying with toggle switches off. And when you're releasing it to the customer, you'll be releasing with the toggle switch on. So you can release at demand. The arts are typically 5 to 12 teams, 50 to 125 plus individuals, and they're all synchronized on common cadence, which is a PI. And they all are aligned to common mission, and they all work from the same art backlog, which consists of features. And all those features are prioritized using a technique called weighted shortest job first, a very, very useful technique, which you'll also be taught in the classes when you take the SAFE curriculum, especially POPM class or SAFE Scrum Master class or leading SAFE class. It will go in detail about what is this prioritization technique. The PI planning is one of the art events, right? So you have your regular team events, right? Like backlog refinement, like iteration planning or sprint planning. You have the daily stand-up or daily sync, or you also have iteration review or sprint review, iteration retrospectives or sprint retrospectives. And these events, just like these events which happens at the team level, you have at the art level, which is team of teams. All the teams will have additional events or cadences or additional meeting time so that you can cover some of those holistic high-level approaches. For example, the PI planning is where team meets once in a quarter, once in every 5 iterations, and all the team members, they meet for a couple of days to identify what are the objectives so that they know what are the list of features they need to work on, what stories they might be working on, and the team will commit to those set of objectives. So the teams have already looked at their capacity and loaded those stories what they'll be working on. So it will be a good plan to start for. They also identify the dependencies and they have a visual map of those dependencies in the art planning board. The coaches sync happens, which is also called SOS, Scrum or Scrums meetings, which also happens every week, where the RTE, release train engineer, kind of coordinates and invites all the Scrum Master to attend. And this is where he takes a pulse of the progress of the PI, how teams are progressing. System demo happens at the end of every iteration for typically 1 hour. That is where the deliverables are reviewed with stakeholders who provide the feedback. Inspect and Adapt is a half a day event workshop. That is where the teams reviews and looks at the process, and also they look at the overall demo for the PI, and also look at the metrics, qualitative and quantitative metrics. And they would eventually look at if there are any problems, how do we solve those problems? They also do retrospectives at the end of the PI. So now let's look at why SAFE. What is the benefits of SAFE? So this is a survey done by SAFE by reaching out to all their customers. And remember, SAFE penetration is pretty huge in the United States. And also it is improving in every other country as well. So when they reviewed with them, did a survey, they found that there are a lot of benefits on using this framework for those organizations. There's a 30% engagement, improved engagement, which is more motivated employees, happier employees, because they have everything going and aligning with their vision, aligning with their strategy, and they're executing as per their objectives and key results. 50% faster time to market. That means they are able to release more value to the customers much more frequently in the shortest sustainable lead time. There's a 35% increase in productivity, and also there is also a 50% reduction in defects. So let's understand what is SAFE, especially from a perspective of what it means. When you look at a Scrum way of working, and is that not enough? Why should we really do SAFE? We'll try to understand that in a little more analogous way and try to understand what it means. So what is SAFE? SAFE is a knowledge base, right? It is not a tool. It's a knowledge base. Knowledge base of all those proven practices, integrated principles, competencies, so that companies or organization can attain business agility by implementing SAFE, Agile, and DevOps and scaling it up. So it's nothing but lean plus Agile plus DevOps. So trying to, again, diving deep and trying to understand what is SAFE, we all know it is a knowledge base which is available for folks to dip in, understand what it is. The framework is freely available on the website. And then it is not a product, we all know. It is a knowledge base. It is for any enterprises, big or small. It will help them to be more lean so that they can reduce their waste and make the process more optimal, and helps them to understand, to pull information from this knowledge base where they can understand the concepts, principles, practices, and try to see how best the organization can attain business agility so that they can delve into agile, DevOps, and lean practices. So it's principles, practices, and competencies based on agile, lean, and DevOps, and it helps to achieve the business agility. These are all proven and integrated, and a lot of organizations are benefiting from it. And that's why you are noticing that there is an increased trend of asking for certifications, especially on SAFe. If you are in the job market for Scrum Master, it is the SSM certification. If you are in this job market as a product owner or BA, it is a POPM certification. Like that, there are many certifications. We'll cover that at the end of this webinar. But more importantly, I want you to all understand that SAFe has done a lot of research, and these proven practices, these principles and competencies really help a lot of organizations achieve what is called business agility. So let's look at this analogy now. Let's look at a little bit differently from the perspective of if you're seeing from the screen. Let's say you have musicians on the screen now. Each musician might be excellent. They all, guitar or violin or drums, percussion, whatever instrument they are using. Yeah, they must be master in that. Exceedingly good. Every musician is very good at what they do. Let's say if these musicians, they all are doing stuff on their own, then how would that look like? How would that sound? It might be like a noise, right? For example, if I go to, I went to a concert recently, and I was in this Kennedy Center, and I was listening. And initially, all those musicians come and they tune their instruments. When they're tuning, they are just randomly trying to make sure that they are playing individually, and that is very blaring, right? You can't tolerate it. It's like a garage band, right? They may not sound nice at all. They all might be noises. They may not be. There is no synchronization. It will be like chaotic sometimes. So let's say if in the concert, if the conductor comes in with a baton, and then conductor conducts the music, when he lifts his arm, the moment he lifts the arm, everybody is more focused and they are looking at their music sheet and trying to play. Everybody is synchronized. So the conductor is called orchestrator, right? He's orchestrating the entire music by making sure that he's ensuring everybody's working towards the same goal, same mission, and make the music even more melodious. So conductor, again, if you take that analogy in SAFe, if each musician is like a team, the way you can get them together is to orchestrate them to come together and work like a band, work together. So the orchestrator could be like a RTE, release train engineer. Each musicians could be like each team, and those teams need to be brought forward together so that they all work together. And the way you can conduct is having a common mission, common purpose, and they all plan together and practice together. The very same talented musicians, they look at their script or music sheets and they play as directed by the conductor. And the music is much more soothing, much more melodious, and it's not noise anymore. So remember, those talented musicians are agile teams, and the orchestrator or conductor with the baton is more like the framework. They're working on common vision, they have common goal, they collaborate, cooperate, and they all are complementing each other and delivering a complex business solution. Remember, these teams are loosely coupled and tightly aligned. So let's look at what are those implementation steps within SAFe. right? We'll try to cover that. There are only a few slides in this, 5 or 6 slides. We'll try to cover them and see if there are any more questions. I have a few more asks on the Slido also at the very end, but we'll try to go each one in detail and try to understand what it means. The safe configurations, there are 4 types: essential safe, large solutions configuration, portfolio configuration, full configuration. It depends on each organization. Let's say if the organization is small, or even if the organization is big and they want to start off with the essential safe, then they will be looking at essential safe initially. They'll be looking at essential safe initially. And in that, they will be focused on 2 levels, 2 swim lanes: the team and technical agility at the team level, the way you are doing your scrum, and the agile release train, which is team of teams coming together, and the triad, which is working with those team of teams, which is release train engineer, the product manager, and the system architect, will try to work with each of the teams to make sure that they plan together, they also execute together, and finally they close together. The large solution configuration introduces the enterprise solution delivery competency, which supports those building the largest and more complex solution that requires multiple agile release trains and suppliers. So the large solution will look at if you have a bigger lines of business, and then if you have multiple agile release trains working towards one line of business, then you can consider having a large solution. Again, it's an optional thing for the organization. The portfolio safe configuration provides the lean portfolio management. This competency will align portfolio execution to enterprise strategy. It organizes the development around the flow of value through one or more value streams. Meaning, let's say you have the organization defining their strategy. How the strategy gets defined: they have offsite meeting. There's the leadership, the VPs, and everybody try to gather and try to identify what that organization needs to focus on, and identify what is the strategy for the organization, and they come up with some strategic themes, and they also craft a vision, and then they go about identifying what are those big projects they need to work on, otherwise called big rock items or epics. And these epics gets part of the portfolio backlog. There's a lean business case created on those, and then these epics gets decomposed into features, which goes into art backlog, and eventually gets decomposed into stories, which goes into team backlog. And the stories gets executed by the teams. They implement the value or the code into staging and production. They will be demoing it, getting the feedback, and then reapplying it. And finally, they release that value to the end customer. So this is how a strategy gets connected all the way to the execution through SAFE, and by keeping the boots on the ground, everyone, right from the strategic leadership perspective to the art execution level to all the way to team members, they work together to make sure that the strategy gets aligned to the execution. The full configuration is nothing but all those 4 swim lanes together: the team and technical agility, the agile product delivery, the solution delivery, large solution delivery, and also the lean portfolio management. All of the 4 of them together is called full configuration. So if you are looking at essential safe, then you will have those 2 core ones, which is the team and technical agility, which is the way your teams you practice with getting into those team level ceremonies, and then working towards doing your planning upfront, iteration planning or sprint planning upfront, getting those iteration goals, and then doing the daily stand-ups, trying the teams working on their each story, team members working on each of their stories, and then finally they're delivering the code which gets integrated to the common branch, and then they also try to deliver the value by staging the code into deploying the code into staging environment, and then they're releasing the code into production once it passes all the validation. If they initially probably use some sort of a toggle switches to put it off, and then they'll release the value on demand to the customer by switching the toggle switches on. So in the process, what you're doing is you are trying to deliver the value by planning upfront with cross-domain planning, and then taking all the way to releasing that value to the end customer. So typically the cadence is every PI or program increment or planning interval is like for 5 iterations, typically 10 weeks. Once a quarter you plan, and then you execute throughout the quarter, and you have what is called inspect and adapt in the last sprint or last iteration of that PI. We talked about those art events. The inner circle is the team level events, right? The daily stand-up, iteration planning, iteration retrospective, backlog refinement, iteration review. You have what is called the outer elliptical, which is all those art events. PI planning, very popular. Inspect and adapt, which happens at the end of the PI. Preparing for the PI planning is a very important activity. All those art triads, product manager, system architect, RTE, they all work together along with product owners, scrum masters, and the team members, so that they prepare for the planning and keep what features they will be working on, and also ensure that they match demand to the capacity of what is available, so that they know what they can deliver, what objectives they can deliver, and they can commit to what objectives they can deliver. System demo happens every iteration and also at the end of the PI, so that you're constantly aligning with the customer. There are 2 other art sync events happens called Scrum of Scrum events, otherwise called Coacher Sync, and PO Sync, Product Owner Sync. And these 2 events are also very, very useful, which happens every week. And typically 30 minutes, time box for 30 minutes with a meet after, so that you can understand what is changing from the initial plan you started off with. This is a typical implementation roadmap. So to achieve the business agility and to get those benefits of lean agile development at scale, it is important to understand each of those steps here. The steps could be training the resources, getting the lean agile leadership's commitment, making sure that that there is an executive workshop which happens upfront, get that commitment. Then once that is there, you identify the value streams. Then there's a lot of training which also happens, like leading safe training, and other trainings are also LPM training also happens. Once value streams are identified, then those value streams, you bring a team of teams together to support the product. Then there is a lot of preparation goes on, preparing for the backlog, preparing for the team's readiness, for the facilities readiness. And then there's a lot of training which happens at the team level, at the architect level, at the product manager level, product owner level, and also with the team members, so that they all understand what is their role, especially with each of those events which happen in the art. And then once they are all ready, once they all have prepared what needs to happen for the PI, the PI planning happens. And once the PI planning happens, for today, the team meets and they have a set agenda for those 2 days, where they identify based on the capacity for each of the team, what features they can work, and what stories they can execute, and identify what objectives they have, and then finally they commit to those objectives. Then the execution happens for the art, and finally you close the PI with the fifth sprint called innovation and planning iteration, and that is where you do what is called inspect and adapt, and you also do PI planning for the next PI. And then once that is successful, once it's sustainable, then you do more arts, and then you conduct more training and ensure that other arts are also gets initiated, and those arts will become more sustainable in the process. Finally, the last slide is about what are the different types of trainings that are available. The most popular ones, I'll start with the most popular ones. The SA, Safe Agilist Certification. It's also called Leading Safe, very popular. Gives you an intro today workshop. It gives you an intro of what SAFE is all about, what are the principles, what are the roles, and what are those steps you need to take. It gives you a simulation of PI planning. It also gives you an understanding of each of those core competencies within the SAFE. The other one, most popular one, is SSM, SAFE Scrum Master. From a Scrum Master perspective, what is your role at the team level events? What is your role at the art level events? What are you supposed to do at every stage? What is a day in the life of a Scrum Master looks like within a SAFE enterprise? And it talks about the roles, talks about the responsibilities of every member of the triad, and also tries to set expectation of how he or she can interact with the other members within the art. There is a POPM, Product Owner, Product Manager, another very popular course, especially geared towards product owners. How do they write the stories? How do they look at the backlog? How do they prioritize the backlog at the team level? How do they work with the teams to resolve impediments? And from a product manager perspective, remember, product manager is nothing but a chief product owner. What is their role of defining the vision? What do they do to create those top 10 features, which needs to be intaked as part of a PI planning, and so that they can execute as part of the PI. Then another popular one is SDP. SDP stands for, it's also otherwise called as DevOps, Safe DevOps. This SDP is, again, you're going through those continuous delivery pipeline, going through each of those stages, continuous exploration, CI/CD, release on demand, various aspects from a perspective of making it lean, identifying the value stream, mapping the value stream, identifying the waste, reducing the waste. Every aspect of the DevOps is covered in the today workshop. SP is another popular one, which is also called Safe for Teams, especially for team members. What is their role, especially as part of SAFE, part of the various events within the SAFE, and how can they be more optimal and successful in the process. RT, Release Train Engineer course, is also very popular. It's a 3-day course where you have, RT is again a chief Scrum Master, right? So after Scrum Master course, I think it's recommended to take RT course, where you'll understand how will you orchestrate at agile release train level on the team of teams, trying to make sure that they all have a common mission, common purpose, and common cadence to deliver the value. SASM is Advanced Scrum Master course. Again, talks about more than what is taught in SSM, and they talk about the advanced metrics they use. What are some of those cultural changes that is needed to happen? How can the teams can be successful? What are those things you look at more deeply so that you can identify the problems much before it can happen? Then there are other courses like APM, Agile Product Management. It is purely targeted for product managers, and a very advanced course when compared to POPM. And this is a 3-day workshop, and will cover a lot of good insights from vision, from epics. How do you write epics? What is lean business case? How do you write features? What is benefit hypothesis? What is acceptance criteria? And anything that relates to a product manager. Then LPM, Lean Portfolio Management course, is also very, very popular, especially at the portfolio layer, trying to identify the, how do you use portfolio Kanban for visualization? What are those SWOT analysis you can conduct? How do you craft a vision? How do you create strategic themes? How can you translate that into epics or big rock items as part of a portfolio backlog? How do you craft OKRs? How do you craft KPIs? And also covers in detail the uh, the budget guardrails, so that it introduces a concept called participatory budget in the process. There are other courses also, like Agile Software Engineering Certification, Agile Government Practitioner Certificate. There's Safe for Architect Certificate, which is also listed there. There is SPC, SPCT is also listed there, which is also a little more advanced, especially to become a safe practice consultant in the process. So I'll pause here to see if any of you have any questions.
Yeah, I do have a few questions.
Yeah, Yuvraj, go ahead.
You explained about ART events, right? Where we do PI planning. So how does it work in actual in practice? So like in Scrum world, you do at a team level, like sprint planning and
Correct.
stuff like that.
Correct.
Will it going to be bottom up, or how is it? Like in the PA planning, you mentioned that all the teams will be involved.
Yeah.
I assume that a business owner will be involved to give us the direction for the PA. As you said, it's going to be for a quarter, 2.5 sprints, maybe. As you said, 2.5 or 5 sprints. You said. I'm
Five
sorry.
sprint.
Yeah,
Five
5 sprints. 2.5 months. Sorry, my bad. During the PA planning, we know what's our vision, right, for the next quarter.
Right.
And then what is left for us to do in sprint planning if all the teams are already planned for PI?
Right.
And also get the direction on the prioritization. So
yeah, excellent question, Yuvraj. I think it's a very, very deep question. So let's try to cover how it works. So first correction from what you said is it is not bottom up, it's top down. So it starts with the strategy of the organization. So once the strategy is there, once you identify your strategic themes and the vision, then you have the epics, the big rock items, the big projects as part of your portfolio Kanban. That is the starting point. Then you have some sort of a roadmap, a solution roadmap, where you're fitting those epics when it will be delivered as part of during the timeline, a 3 to 5 year horizon. The art which follows that is the team of teams, and the art will look at that solution roadmap and also the vision, portfolio vision, and try to identify what they need to focus on in the next 3 quarters at least. 3 quarters is 3 PIs. So they will forecast what they'll be focusing on. So they have decomposed those epics into features as part of the art backlog. Those features, again, they are bigger than the stories, but those features has one rule. The features need to be completed within the same PI. Same PI is 2.5 months, 5 sprints. It should be completed within the 5 sprints time period. So each of those features get decomposed into stories, and those stories, the difference is stories and features. Stories needs to get completed in 1 sprint in 2 weeks. So you have the strategy, you have the execution, you're now connecting the strategy and execution. So you started from top down, got into the agile release train or art. You did what is called, like you said, PI planning, which is a cross-domain planning, which happens upfront before the PI starts. And in that PI planning for 2 days, you are looking at the vision, you're looking at the business context, the teams are in the breakout session trying to identify what stories they'll be working on. They understand their capacity, They try to load those stories so that they can deliver as part of each sprint or iteration. And they have a rough idea of what they can deliver for that PI. So they create what is called PI objectives. So now they have PI objectives. They know what type of stories they are focused on. Now they come to their regular iterations. When they come to the regular iteration, the first iteration they look at identifying what stories they are picking up, and what is the PI objectives they have for the entire 5 iterations. And then for the first iteration, what they need to focus on, and then they identify what their iteration goals are in the regular sprint planning. And then they execute the sprint. They have the daily stand-ups or team sync, and then they will be delivering at the end of the sprints with the iteration review, iteration retrospectives, or sprint reviews, sprint retrospectives, and have a system demo. And they also have not only the team demo, but an integrated demo of all the teams happening at the same time. Let's say if you're doing a website, and if the art is empowered to do a website, and if each team has taken a component of that website, one team is focused on, let's say, um, the product listing. One is looking at authentication. One is looking at checkout. One is looking at shopping cart. Then you're not just looking at your demo individually, but you're putting all those things integrated, and you're looking at the same time, and then you're pulling all the you're inviting all the stakeholders to give an input, and then you're taking that input and adding to your increment, so that next increment takes that feedback into that process. So what I told you all about how it starts and how it kind of ends from the top to the bottom, we'll go through that in detail in the class. So in class, we'll do what is called PI planning simulation. So you will have a rough idea how you can plan your activities for your respective sprints for the entire quarter upfront. Yuvraj, did I answer your question?
Yeah, another quick question from your answer. You mentioned about involving stakeholders at the demo, right? Are you
Yeah.
referring to the system demo or like a iteration demo?
So iteration demo happens within your team.
Yes.
So you can always invite whoever needs to participate there, but mostly it's your team. But your system demo is where it happens across the art, the whole 5 to 12 teams, 50 to 125 people coming together and watching together. And you're inviting customers, you're inviting stakeholders, the business owners who will be looking at the entire product to give their feedback. Okay. Great question. Any other questions, folks? If not, let's move on to the next question I have here for you. What did you like the most in today's webinar? Excellent. High-level idea of safe. Keep going, folks. Anything you can think of. Explanation. Good. All right. We'll wait for one more comment, I think. Safe terminologies. Good. That's the intent. So let's move on. What did you like the least? If at all you want to share. I know if there's anything that we can improve on, you can always share. Remember, we all strive to learn, right? So anything that you can think of. I'll give another half a minute and then we can move on. Real world examples, good. So one example I gave you is the website, right? Building a website. That could be something. Too much information. Yeah, we can probably try to control that. That's something good. All right. If you have any questions even after the webinar, don't hesitate to reach out back to me or to Carton. Both of us will be very helpful to facilitate your questions. So by attending this session, do you think your time was well spent?
Yes.
Excellent. Good. Respond to that. That'll be good. And then that is the last question I have. So does anybody have any other questions? Because this is what we try to cover today. There is probably, if there is anything which you have want us to cover in the next webinar, please do not hesitate to reach back to Carton or me. We'll share our contact information also. In fact, I'll drop it in the chat window so that you know how to reach me. But Carton is definitely the best way for you to reach, because he can keep up with all these questions you have so that we can add it to our next webinar.
Is it okay to reach out if we have our,
Yeah,
real problems, just to consult,
absolutely, Raj, absolutely. And if you're on a particular role, and if you have more deeper questions, better to enroll in one of the classes, which will be very, very helpful for you.
I see. Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's all I have for today, folks. So thank you for joining. And I'd like to see you in one of the classes. And please avail the 10% discount, early bird discount that Simpliaxis is making it available for you. So please take advantage of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks.